Welcome back to the show. Today we are talking all about traditions, the good, the bad, and the ugly. But first up, I think Collette should share her lovely story of the friend she made while on the tram.
I feel like maybe this is a new tradition for us here at Romaru. We have altercations on the tram.
We don't mean to. They just happen.
We're blessed. We're blessed. Okay, so this was very weird. I think it just goes to show you that no matter what city you're in, Nice, New York, wherever, there are crazy people on public transportation. Maybe myself included. I don't know. We can include myself on that. So I'm sitting on the tram, minding my own business with my daughter.
Pause. You're also pregnant.
I'm pregnant, right. Ta-da. Sitting on the tram because I'm pregnant. Basically, there are seats. Let me set up the tram situation in France and Nice. So there are seats reserved for pregnant people, people with disabilities. And then there's also a little like ramp where you can lean on for people that are pregnant, have strollers, have a wheelchair, etc. So I am one of those people. But if there is someone that cannot walk or has a disability, I always get up, like always. So I'm coming back from the park with our daughter, Scotland, and I'm sitting on the tram for a long time, almost the entire route, and we're getting close to home. And all of a sudden, this woman across from me, I hear her yelling. I don't think it's at me initially because we're on a tram. People do crazy things. But I realize she's yelling at me. I actually forget what she said at first. It was, when you get frazzled and you kind of forget some of the things. But my first question to her, basically she was criticizing me for sitting on the tram when there's other people on the tram. No one disabled around us, no elderly people around us. In fact, there's plenty of areas to sit. And there's a man sitting next to me who she's not yelling at, by the way. So she's yelling at me about sitting. And I say, why are you yelling at a pregnant woman? Or I think I said, like, why are you assaulting a pregnant woman? Or it's something like that, verbally. And she said, I'm not. And
What'd she say about the stroller, though?
She said something about, is your stroller pregnant? Like, meaning I could put my daughter in my stroller. And
well, also, Scotland loves to sit on the tram. And it's one of those things where when it's packed, we kind of have to tell her, hey, there's no seats. But when there are seats, she wants to sit, and it's not a big deal.
And I just want to say that Scotland and I are just sitting on the tram, looking out the window, like excitedly. She likes to look and comment on all the things passing. So we're really just minding our own business. And this woman keeps going. And
other people get involved, right?
Other people did get involved because the woman across the way that was yelling said, like, well, there's this lady standing next to you. You should have gotten up for her. And this woman said, I appreciate you trying to defend me, but I'm an adult and can speak for myself, and I'm fine. And so it was kind of like, shut down. And then the woman wouldn't stop. I asked her to stop. She wouldn't stop. And I said, please stop talking. There's kids around and you're setting a bad example. And I think that kind of stopped her.
Didn't Scotland ask who that lady was?
Yeah. So Scotland asked who that woman was. And believe me, I wanted to say other things. Like, I grew up in New Jersey and New York. Like, if someone yells at you on the subway, will you either like disassociate from this person or you tell them to go shove it?
I'll be honest. I was very shocked the way you handled this. I was like, whoa.
I thought I was like,
you finally took a little bit of the Jersey girl out of you.
Yes. Well, I was like, okay, I'm in a foreign country. This person is obviously crazy. And when you start fighting with a crazy person, no one can tell who the crazy person is. And I'm setting an example for my daughter. So stay calm, even though my heartbeat was like, ba-bum, ba-bum, ba-bum. Stay calm and de-escalate. And so when Scotland said, what's going on with this woman or who's this woman? I said, I tried to relate it to something in her world, like Disney. So I said, she's like Maleficent. the Disney character. She's evil, right? And she targets other people. And I said, we don't. And then I just said, we don't stoop to her level. And I tried to just put the blinders on and focus on the fact that I need to protect my daughter and can't have this random woman yelling at us. And I don't want Scotland to see that I'm getting upset. So I stayed calm. I really did. I was really proud of myself. I didn't yell back at her. The New York didn't come out. Like, all was good. But I came home and I was like, I don't know what's going on with the tram. Like, why are we?
I don't think this is a French thing. I think this is a city thing.
It's a city thing.
This would happen in New York, Boston, anywhere. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. You ride the subway in New York, you're bound to see it crazy. Every single ride.
And sadly, correct me if I'm wrong, I feel like this is just a woman attacking a woman.
Well,
like,
there was a man sitting next to me. She didn't tell him to get up.
Exactly. Like she should have gone after the guy, but but that's a whole nother thing.
I think it was a vulnerable woman. Yeah. Like, she saw a vulnerable woman and she tried to attack her. And I'm not about that life. You came for the wrong girl.
Yes.
You came for the wrong one, hun.
Oh boy, the lovely world of France.
City life, baby. City life. We're not in the burbs anymore.
No. Well, I want to start with a quote. Since we're talking about traditions, I found this lovely little quote, and it is, "Tradition is not the worship of ashes, but the preservation of fire." Gustav Mahler. I don't even know who that is, but I thought it was a lovely, lovely quote that kind of helps you understand why we have traditions. I think in my family, obviously we have traditions. They didn't feel as strong as your family. Like, your family is like, it's the northern, like, it's New Jersey Italian.
It's
like
that Italian, yeah.
It's the family, it's this, and the traditions are
the family.
Yeah, it's very much, it's intense. But then you see it and you get used to it and you understand it and you're like, oh, okay, I get it.
And you're a part of it and you love it.
And
then it makes you feel like you're wrapped in a family blanket.
Exactly. It's like, it's basically like, here, let us wrap you in this blanket. And you're like, get this blanket off me. And then after a few times, you're like, okay, I don't mind it. It's okay. Now you get used to it and you want the blanket.
It sounds like it's being forced on you. It is usually forced in the form of food. Eat this food. You're going to like it.
It's also forced in the lack of flexibility. Like, it has to be the tradition. It has to be this day. It has to be this way. Like, but
I see that happen in a lot of families.
Yeah.
I think both sides.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it happens both sides.
And I think if we relate it to that quote that you just said, initially when it's not your tradition, it can seem like, why are we doing this?
Yeah.
But when you see the preservation of the fire, you see that family root, that ancestry come through. And it's like a way to preserve the name. It's a way to pass on the last name in a figurative way.
Yes. It's also, I mean, when you really get down to traditions, I mean, they mean so much. They really do. And I think when you're younger and you don't have kids, like, what's the point? You know, you come home from college, or let's just say you're in high school and it's just automatic, or it's like your parents just bring you to Thanksgiving, and sometimes you like it, sometimes you don't. I can remember being a kid and just the chaos, because at the time there were, of my cousins that we had getting together, I don't even remember how many, but like the age that ranged, I mean, it was 10, 12 of us, something. So, I mean, you can just imagine the noise that was in those houses. I don't specifically remember, like, I don't remember it, but I remember videos of some of these events when I was really young. I can't imagine what our parents went through. Like, knowing, I mean, we just have one toddler running around, and the idea of, I guess it just becomes noise. Like, it's one thing to have one and they're like in your ear during the day, but like an event like that, it's just noise that you just kind of drink over, I guess, right?
The kids start to take care of themselves at a certain point. You know, when you have one, they're just looking at the adults for attention. But if you have kids running around, the kids want nothing to do with you, with the adults. So I think that they kind of separate, right? Like, did you have a kids' table at your meals?
We had multiple tables because our gatherings were like 35 people.
Yeah.
35, 40 people. So, yeah. It was like tables and tables, and they were all spread out through all the rooms.
Yeah.
And I do remember, like, the first time I kind of sat at the adult table, and it was like, ooh, this is a big thing. And then I was like, this is boring. I want to go sit with the kids.
Yeah,
again.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. When we used to travel from New Jersey to Queens every Christmas, and I swear I'd meet like a new cousin or a new aunt every Christmas. I'm like, who is this person? And I think now I can realize that they're just like an extended family or a family friend that we call aunt or cousin, but not an actual cousin. But yeah, then that tradition stopped after a while.
They fade away.
Yeah.
And you start new ones.
Because when the kids start having kids, they want their own traditions, right? And then that's a tough transition. I think, for the grandparents, for everybody, but it's also a natural transition.
Let's talk about how we kind of missed. This was like the first tradition that we missed away from the States, which was Halloween. Where were we?
We were in Switzerland. Man, leading up to Halloween, I was getting kind of emotional thinking, okay, we're at the age, Scotland's 2.5. She's ready to trick or treat and we can dress up. And we initially thought we were going to be back in the States visiting for Halloween. I got very, very excited, but we changed our plans and we were going to be the Little Mermaid. Scotland was going to be Ariel. I was going to be Ursula. You were going to be Triton. So we had costumes and everything ordered, and I think she got really excited. I got really excited because it was the first time. Yeah. I mean, we've dressed up every Halloween. This would be our third Halloween with her. However, this was like she was in it. She was engaged. She was aware of.
She understands it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think I got really sad, thinking about like this is a tradition we're going to miss out on because it's a tradition that's really American in our understanding. In France, it's not really celebrated. In Nice, there is some trick-or-treating in Old Nice where the shops put out candy for the kids. And so we were going to try that if we were in Nice. But overall, it's a really Americanized holiday.
I think it's picked up in other countries, mainly from like expat communities. And it's like, yes, it will happen, but it's not the same. Right. Because it's not where we grew up, where we lived in New Jersey. It is like a big event. They like shut down this big section of the neighborhood and there's probably thousands of people walking around.
Yeah.
It's a big, it's organized by the town.
Yeah.
But I love it.
Think about the layout.
Yeah. I love it, but I also, to get into the details of that, like it's
what grinds your gears about Halloween, Scott?
Well, this how we have it at home. I have to rephrase. All my mind is still messed up. In New Jersey versus where I grew up, it's like in New Jersey, it's like people sit out. It's organized by the town. There's candy. The kids don't have to knock on the doors.
It wasn't always that way.
Okay. It's a newer thing.
Yeah.
Because I love the old days where you had to go knock on the doors. And
I was knocking on doors, and I grew up in the town.
Okay. And they do a little bit. But in Switzerland, where we were, Scotland got a tiny taste of Halloween.
Yes. So we went to these amazing hotels in Switzerland. I just want to say that we found them on Instagram, and it was like, it's called Swiss Family Hotels is the hotel group, but they're just made for families. There's like parks and water slides and pools and all of this and animals.
Free daycare.
Yeah. Free childcare. They're just wild. So we found these. We're like, we have to go. So we did a road trip. I hope we're going to talk about that in a different episode because it deserves a full episode. But they ended up having a small little Halloween there. And yeah, we got to... Sorry. That's so me to have an alarm set.
Go on.
So when we're at this hotel in Switzerland, there's some kids that were dressed up. It was like, I wish we got the memo. We didn't get the memo.
Well, we were busy. We were busy like traveling and moving around. And
driving 7 hours to Switzerland.
Yeah, it was just too much to like, we're also going to get you a Halloween costume.
And
she napped during a lot of the activities. Like there was like
did.
face painting and some other stuff. So she was napping. We woke up and it was like dinner time. It was just, it's difficult. You can't do everything with a toddler.
But how funny, that's a good point. But how funny is it that the costume that we saw that she loved actually is a callback to what I was just talking about on the tram.
It was Maleficent.
Maleficent.
This girl had this amazing purple Maleficent costume with big horns, and Scotland was enthralled by this girl. And their table was right next to us when we were eating dinner, and Scotland would just stare at her and like get up and be like, "Can I go say hi?" And she went over there, and she was so shy, and we said hello. And then like 5 minutes later, you went over there with her and did the same thing. And the sweetest thing, the girl was probably like maybe 5, 6.
Yeah.
Came over and was like, "Would you like to wear my horns?" And that made Scotland's day. And she got to wear the horns for a few minutes and took some pictures. And so
it was special. So it was a little taste of Halloween. Yeah. I feel like next year we definitely need to be in the States to do that. Who knew that Halloween was going to hit my heart so deeply, right?
Yeah.
Like I thought I could see really missing during Thanksgiving and Christmas, but I was not expecting Halloween. I guess a little grief came out.
Yeah.
during
It's
Halloween.
just having a kid. It's, you see the world differently.
You do.
Yeah. Because I mean, for how many years we were like, oh, Halloween, who cares?
Oh yeah, we would travel during Halloween. We even traveled during some holidays, and
You're like, I'll take a handful of
affect
candy
us.
and that's it.
yeah,
And now you're like, oh no, this is her experience, her journey. That
Yeah,
is
it's
different.
different.
Yeah.
makes me sad all over again.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's hard to think about the holidays away from home, right? Like you're creating family. We have our family, but that's something that we usually celebrated with others. So it's a shared experience that, well, it's still a shared experience between us now. We don't have that extended family note in our musical symphony, and it's tough.
What was your first like thought of my family traditions? Like when we first started dating? Like what's like the first thing that
I think the thing that comes to mind is food, because it's so different from Scott grew up in Indiana. His family lives in Indiana, and I grew up in New Jersey, heavy Italian. So the food on holidays is so different. And I think for Thanksgiving, I remember I was like, "Where's your ravioli?" not realizing, because when you grow up in this certain box, you just think that that's normal, and until you experience something else, then you go, "Oh, there's different ways of living." Oh my goodness.
Well, let's explain the ravioli.
Yeah, so let's explain the ravioli. So let's talk about the ravioli. On Thanksgiving and on Christmas, our first course, well, we have the antipasto, which is like the mozzarella and the
Go ahead, let the Jersey out.
I know,
Let
I'm
the
like,
Italian
let me do
out.
the X thing, you know?
Yeah.
The prosciutto, the mozzarella, the bruschetta, like all the things that you just munch on. So there's a ton of food out when you arrive to the gathering. And then the first course that you sit down for together is the ravioli. In my family, it is the ravioli, and it's the thing I look forward to most.
But it's not a lot. It's not like a full dish. It's like 3 or 4 like big raviolis.
You get 3 or 4 ravioli that we get at like the local market, A&A. A&A is the market. And it's just, that sets the tone for me. I'm like, okay, we're home, because I've lived all over. I lived in Philadelphia and Miami and Los Angeles. And when I went home to New Jersey and that ravioli went on the table, it like triggered something. I was back, baby. And to share that with you, then that was new for you, right? Like
I was confused.
you came for Thanksgiving. We sit down for ravioli. What's going on in your mind?
I think one, it was like you serve the ravioli and then it stops because it's a break.
Right, it's a break.
And I was so confused. I'm like, are we eating? What's going, like, should I just stuff myself with ravioli? I didn't know what to do. And so I learned that.
It's kind of like the Italian wedding. It just made
is.
me think. You eat, you get up and dance. You eat, you get up and dance. It's
Yes,
like that.
it's a whereas where I grew up, it's like more of the casserole dishes, like the big food line. Everyone gets a plate, and everyone eats all at once. It's like you fill up your plate, you eat, and then you just lay around after a while. Whereas the Italians, like, you show up, you have some snacks, you have some wine, you eat the ravioli, you get up, watch some more football, do whatever, and then finally serve the full meal again.
Right. Yeah, it's like a full day of eating. And I think the difference too, even though like we're eating carbs, ravioli, the thing I noticed in Indiana was like carbs on carbs on carbs. It was like,
Yeah, I laughed when you pointed
what
that out.
is this?
It was noodles, well, chicken and noodles. So there was some chicken in there, but it was like noodles, chicken, gravy on top of mashed potatoes. And you're like, this is just carbs on top of carbs.
I was like, you put the pasta on the mashed potato. How interesting.
But it's good.
It was delicious.
It's really
I must
good.
say. Don't knock it till you try it.
Yeah.
Speaking from someone who was like, I'm so confused, but the pasta doesn't usually go on the potato.
Yes. It's delicious.
Yeah, it's good to try new traditions.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, so you think that traditions are more important in my family than in yours? Or do you think that it's just a different tradition, so it seems stronger to you?
I think it's more important.
Yeah.
I think it's like, it seems more structured in a way. I don't know. Yeah. So I think it's just, it feels more important. It feels like this is how we do it. We do it this way. Like, but this year we're changing things a little bit. Like,
Are we?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we are.
Yeah,
We're going because we're going home for Thanksgiving
Yeah.
to New Jersey, and we're going to go to my brother's house instead
that'll
of my
be a little
mom's.
different.
So that is a change
That
in
is a
tradition.
change.
See, when the kids have kids, the traditions change.
They change a little bit.
They do, and it's great when the grandparents are adaptive to that. See, grandparents, let's be adaptive. My mom was super open to that, and I was like, yeah, let's do it. There's plenty of room at John's house.
Yes, let's do that. So I don't know. I mean, what's like your favorite childhood tradition?
Oh, I really love just the togetherness. I know I would see my family all the time, but there's something about Thanksgiving. It's the food, right? It's the food. And something about sitting around a table together, sharing food and stories, and, people coming home from college, because I had older siblings. Like, I remember I was so excited for my sister and brother to come home and finally see them again. I think it's really just being together and that dedicated quality time. I'm like such a quality time person and a foodie. So Thanksgiving was my holiday. What do you think?
I mean, Thanksgiving's always fun.
Yeah.
But when I asked that, the first thing that flashed is like Christmas morning. Like and I can remember with my brother, like we would get up at 4 or 5 a.m. and basically our tradition was like if the gifts weren't wrapped, you could play with them. They were usually like partitioned, per each boy. And usually there was like a Lego set. And so that would be the thing is like we'd get up 4 or 5 in the morning and that'd be the first thing. And we would just both have a Lego set and we would knock it out or some type of toy that you had to put together. And we would put it together as fast as we could. And yeah, I think that's like when I think about that, like I can remember that moment. And then, man, our parents must have hated us because like it's the typical, like they're waking up at, they like 5 a.m. being like exhausted. Oh yeah, Merry Christmas. Like drinking as much coffee. And they're like, okay, we got a long day ahead of us.
I bet you anything though, if you ask them the time in life that they could go back to, it would be then.
Yeah. That. And then actually the other thing that comes to mind is my mom would make on Christmas morning. This is such a Midwest thing. Biscuits and gravy.
Oh, yum.
Yes. Like a thick, hearty, that's like the special dish that she would make is biscuits and gravy. And then also we'd have like pancakes and eggs and everything. It was like such over the top.
We could bring that into our house if that's something that brings you so much joy.
I'd make biscuits and gravy.
Biscuits and gravy.
Yeah.
Pass on the tradition.
Yeah, maybe
Pass
I will,
the baton. I actually just thought of a funny something with holidays. When Scott first came into our family and came to a holiday, because I grew up in such like a ethnic part of the Northeast and background and ancestry was so important. My mom's like, oh, Stoller, he's German. Okay, I make the German food then. I don't know why my mom has an accent all of a sudden. And she's like, should I make like pierogies? What should I make? Should I make sauerkraut? I think pierogies are Polish. And we're just like, I'm like, Scott, what do you usually eat? What's the traditional ethnic food you eat? And you're like, I don't think I do. Like, what?
That was something that was very odd when your mom asked me. I didn't understand it. 'Cause she's like, well, what does your family do? And one of it is you just think it's normal. So you're like, we just do the normal stuff. Like if my mom drilled you with those questions, you'd be like, we do the normal stuff. And you would be like, we eat the ravioli, we do this and that. And my mom would have been like,
your mom would be like,
what,
stop
what
traffic.
do you mean?
Ravioli?
Yes, but your mom was like, what German things do you eat? Which, even though my name is German, like I'm actually more British, but it's like very simple. And even our traditions, I think about like over the holidays, they have changed over the years as the family's gotten bigger and to make things a little bit easier.
Right. And then the family starts dividing off as they replicate.
Yeah.
So we talked about our extended family traditions. What about our traditions? I feel like we started some, right?
We have.
Yeah.
Travel.
Being away for holidays is our tradition. Being absent. No. No, I was going to say Christmas morning.
Oh, I mean, usually we've started. It's been a few times. Champagne on Christmas morning has been a good thing.
Followed by a nap.
I'm curious how long that will stay as the number of kids increase and their age increases. like knowing that we have
Probably
to
more champagne.
probably more champagne.
Well, not this Christmas.
Yeah, this
for
Christmas
me.
you won't have any. Yeah,
I'll just be salivating at you.
you did give me
Drinking
approval to
along.
get a nice bottle of champagne, but now we probably won't do that.
Yeah, maybe that'll be.
You said for birth, you're like, can I have some Krug?
I want the Krug.
I want the Krug, and I was
Mommy
like, okay,
wants the Krug.
that's a big one.
It's an investment. People talk about a push present. I just want Krug.
Yeah, you'll probably do what you did with Scotland, which is sushi and some champagne.
Yeah. So we brought a bottle of Perrier Jouet.
That was a gift.
It was a gift
It was a gift.
into the hospital. And I think I had like 2 sips because I was so nervous because I was breastfeeding and I had just given birth and I was like, all over the place, hadn't slept. And
Yeah, I drank most of it.
Scott all of a sudden
unknowingly.
realized he drank most of the bottle.
All of a sudden, I'm like drunk in the hospital room. I'm like, whoa, I need to chill out. Yeah, I think also with us, it's once you have kids, it's inevitable that like traditions become very important.
Yeah.
Because when you're a little kid, they're forced on you, and not in a bad way. It's just what you do. You follow what your parents do, and then as you get older, you're kind of like trying to build your own independence, and you kind of maybe rebel a little bit and don't think they're important. And then you have kids, and you realize, oh wow, these are very important. These are very special, and these are the memories that I want to make. These are the moments I want to make. And outside of like big holidays, I can remember Kevin Hart talking about something, and this is like we haven't hit the age for it just yet, but like even simple traditions where it's like we've somewhat implemented like Friday night is like movie night, and you know as our schedule fits, like that's like a big thing where we and you did this basically. You guys would like get Chinese food,
Yeah. Chinese food or pizza and watch a movie.
and I don't remember it as like a tradition, but I do remember often on the weekends it was like let's go get a movie and do that. And so I think it's like I think about what Kevin Hart was saying. He's like, yeah, I love the traditions of like maybe it's like Taco Tuesday or like go out and get pizza on Fridays, and leaning into those is a lot of fun. Like now when we know it's Friday, we're gonna have movie night. What movie are we gonna watch? And making it an event makes it like special for us as well. Obviously, Scotland has a blast. She's like, it's movie night. Let's do it. She gets so excited. But I think also now being parents, you understood why our parents were like, we're ordering pizza because they were probably exhausted from the week. And they're
Friday.
like, I don't want to have to deal. I just want to have a relaxing evening.
Yep. You have a different perspective. Like as the kid, you're just like, this is amazing. My parents want to watch a movie with me and eat this like fun food. And as an adult, you're just like, can we hit the easy button?
Can we hit the
please?
easy? Yes, so much.
It's funny how you realize those things.
Yeah. So
I feel like we're starting to balance, right? Like the traditions you grew up with, the traditions I grew up with, and the traditions we want to create in our own family. It's like when you first get married, it's a little tough to navigate that. And I feel like it has gotten easier over the years and harder in different ways because, as our family evolves, that takes precedence, So I think it gets harder in some ways, but we're doing it.
I think so. And I think it's also being like deciding on traditions. You should as a family just be like, hey, let's make this a tradition. And you can change things up and you could pick things and not just allow, I mean, it's good to have the historical ones that you tend to follow with your, original family, but it's also good to make your own. And they can be whatever, they can be, hey, Saturday morning we go for hikes or whatever. But yeah, I think we've done a good job of balancing all the traditions and finding new ones and having fun with it. And trying to keep them while we're traveling abroad as well.
Yeah, that's tough. Do you think it's important for couples to make their own traditions?
I think it's inevitable. Yeah, I think you have to. Unless you're like a couple that met in high school and your families live down the road from one another, like, you're going to be pretty similar. Whereas like we're like a couple that is pretty different. You grew up on the East Coast, I grew up in the Midwest, like traditions are very different. Mm-hmm. So you're going to have some merging of the two. And yeah, I think it's good to talk about the traditions and talk about what you guys both like and what you want your traditions to be for your family.
Bingo. That's the biggest thing. Talk about what works and what doesn't work.
Yeah.
Hey, think about that instead of just like blindly following this path. Yeah, you got to assess and then lead with intention.
Yes. So
I love that. All of this Thanksgiving talk has made me hungry.
It has made me hungry.
You want some ravioli?
Sure. Let's get some ravioli.
They do have great pasta shops here in Nice because we're so close to Italy.
Yeah. All right. Next week.
Next week, we've got some big news, guys.
Got some big news.
Again.
A biento.
A biento.
Thank you for listening to today's episode. If you're learning from and or enjoying this podcast, please subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on Instagram and TikTok. These are great free ways to support this podcast. Also, please subscribe to this podcast on both Spotify and Apple. On both of those platforms, you can leave us up to a 5-star review, which would help us out greatly. Please also check out the sponsors mentioned in today's episode. That's the best way to support this show. If you have any questions or topics you'd like us to cover, please put those in the comment sections in YouTube. And yes, we do read all the comments.